The Valkyrie ship entered Earth's orbit with a quiet hum. Inside, Commander Drek looked at the blue planet on the view screen. His scaled skin glinted under the ship's lights as he flexed his clawed hands. "Another world of prey," he said to his second-in-command. "Look at all that water. Soft planets make soft species." The Valkyrie had conquered 12 solar systems in the last century. As the top predators in known space, they expected little resistance from the newly discovered humans. Down on Earth, Captain Nora Wright adjusted her uniform one last time before entering the meeting room. The United Earth government had chosen her to lead humanity's first contact with the reptilian aliens who called themselves the Valkyrie. "Everyone ready?" she asked, looking at her team. Lieutenant Jack Pearson nodded. As security chief, he had studied the limited information they had on the Valkyrie. "Yes, Captain. Though I don't like what I see in their ship design. Too many weapon ports for a diplomatic vessel." "Noted," Nora said. "But we show no fear. First impressions matter." The Earth delegation waited at the landing site as the Valkyrie shuttle descended. When the door opened, the humans got their first look at the aliens. They stood 7 feet tall with powerful bodies covered in dark green scales. Their eyes were yellow with vertical pupils, and their mouths showed rows of sharp teeth when they spoke. Ambassador Thraz stepped forward, towering over Nora. "We bring greetings from the Valkyrie Dominion," he said through the translator. His eyes scanned the humans with what looked like disappointment. "Welcome to Earth," Nora replied with a firm voice. "We are honored to establish relations with your people." The Valkyrie delegation followed the humans into the conference room. Jack noticed how they moved, quick and precise, like hunters sizing up prey. He kept his face neutral but stayed alert. During the meeting, Thraz spoke about Valkyrie culture and their position in the galaxy. "We have brought order to many worlds," he said. "Species under our protection thrive in their proper place." Nora caught the meaning behind his words. "Earth is interested in equal partnerships," she said. "We believe different species can work together as equals." Thraz made a sound that the translator didn't catch. It sounded like laughter. "Of course," he said, "we will see what partnerships develop naturally." Later, in private quarters aboard their shuttle, Thraz spoke freely to his team. "These humans are even softer than we thought. No claws, no natural armor. Their teeth couldn't bite through cloth." His science officer, Krytax, looked less certain. "They've advanced quickly for a young species. Their technology is impressive for their development stage." "Technology built by weak hands," Thraz said. "They will accept our protection or face the consequences. The High Command will be pleased to add this resource-rich world to our territory." Back in the Earth Command Center, Nora shared her concerns with the Security Council via video call. "They're predators," she explained. "Everything about them, their posture, their speech patterns, the way they look at us. They see us as prey." "Do you believe their diplomatic mission is a front?" asked General Harris. Jack spoke up. "Their ship carries enough firepower to level a city. This isn't just a greeting. It's a scouting mission." Nora nodded. "We should proceed with the diplomatic process, but prepare our defenses. The Valkyrie are testing us, looking for weaknesses." "We'll accelerate the deep space defense network," the general agreed. "Can you keep them talking while we prepare?" "Yes," Nora said. "They underestimate us. That might be our best advantage right now." As night fell over the diplomatic compound, Jack found Nora looking up at the stars. "They think we're easy prey," she said quietly. Jack followed her gaze to where the Valkyrie ship orbited invisibly above them. "Then they've made their first mistake. Humans have never been prey for long." In his quarters aboard the Valkyrie ship, Thraz sent his initial report to the High Command. "Planet ideal for expansion. Indigenous species poses minimal threat. Recommend immediate integration into the Dominion." The Valkyrie had no way of knowing they had just challenged the most dangerous species in the galaxy. 3 months passed since first contact with the Valkyrie. The diplomatic talks continued, and now a Valkyrie cultural exchange team visited Earth. Their ship landed at the main research facility in Colorado, where Dr. Lisa Morgan waited to greet them. Lisa brushed her blonde hair from her face as the alien shuttle door opened. A Valkyrie stepped out, smaller than the others she had seen in videos. "I am Krytax, lead scientist," the Valkyrie said. "We are here to learn about humans." Lisa smiled. "Welcome to Earth. I'll be your guide during your stay." Krytax looked at Lisa with curious yellow eyes. Unlike Ambassador Thraz, he seemed genuinely interested in humans. "Your world has many different environments," Krytax said as they walked to the research building. "How do your people survive in such varied conditions?" Lisa explained how humans had adapted to live everywhere from deserts to Arctic regions. "We're very good at changing our surroundings or adjusting to them." The Valkyrie team spent the first day studying human biology. They seemed confused by many things. "Your species has no natural weapons," one Valkyrie noted while examining medical scans. "No claws, weak teeth, thin skin." "We develop tools instead," Lisa said. "Our advantage is our brain and our endurance." Krytax tilted his head. "Endurance." The next day, Lisa took the Valkyrie team to watch a marathon. They stood near the finish line as hundreds of humans ran past after completing 26 miles. "They run this distance for fun?" Krytax asked, shocked. "Some do," Lisa said. "Humans can run longer distances than almost any animal on Earth." Later that week, they visited an extreme sports competition. The Valkyrie watched in silence as humans climbed sheer rock faces, jumped from planes, and swam in freezing water. "This behavior makes no sense," a young Valkyrie scientist said. "They risked their lives without need." Krytax was quiet, watching carefully. Lisa noticed him taking many notes. On the 6th day, the Earth government arranged for the Valkyrie to observe a military training exercise. They watched from a safe distance as soldiers ran obstacle courses, practiced combat, and demonstrated weapons. "Your weapons are impressive," Krytax said. "But why train your bodies so hard when machines do the fighting?" "Machines can fail," replied Captain Ben Kelly, their military guide. "A well-trained human never stops fighting until the job is done." That evening, Krytax sent a private message to the Valkyrie High Command. "Humans show concerning traits. They train their bodies beyond normal limits. They seem to enjoy pain and hardship. Request more time for study before any action is taken." The reply came quickly. Assessment noted. Continue observation. Invasion preparations proceed as planned. Krytax looked troubled when he met Lisa the next morning. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "Your people are unusual," Krytax said carefully. "In my studies of prey species across 20 systems, I have never seen one that pushes itself toward pain intentionally." Lisa frowned. "Prey species? Is that how you see us?" Krytax realized his mistake too late. "I meant no offense. It is simply biology. The Valkyrie evolved as hunters. So did humans," Lisa said quietly. "We were persistence hunters. We chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion, even if it took days." Krytax's expression changed. "Days. No predator hunts for days." "We do," Lisa said. "Human children can learn math and science, but they also can run, swim, climb, and survive in harsh conditions. We're adaptable." That night, Krytax sent another urgent message to his superiors. "Humans may be more dangerous than we thought. They claim to have evolved as persistence hunters. This explains their unusual endurance and pain tolerance. Recommend caution." The reply dismissed his concerns. "All species exaggerate their capabilities. Proceed with cultural exchange. Invasion fleet launches in 30 days. As Krytax put away his communication device, he looked out the window at the night sky. For the first time in his career as a Valkyrie scientist, he felt something new. Worry for his own people and what they might be walking into. The humans didn't act like prey. They acted like predators who were simply waiting. The attack came without warning. 3 Valkyrie warships appeared near the human colony on Proxima Centauri. Their weapons lit up the dark side of the planet, targeting the main settlement first. Steve Miller was teaching a class of children when the first explosions shook the colony dome. He looked up at the ceiling as dust fell. "Everyone under the tables," he said calmly, though his heart raced. "Remember our safety drills." Outside, the colony's small security force scrambled to respond. They had only 6 defense turrets and 2 short-range fighters, barely enough to defend against pirates, let alone warships. Kate Daniels ran through the hallways of the science building. "Everyone to the shelter," she shouted, helping researchers grab important data drives. This is not a drill. Through the dome's clear sections, they could see Valkyrie dropships landing outside the colony. Armored reptilian soldiers poured out, weapons ready. In the colony's security center, Chief Mason Cruz watched the feeds with a grim face. He was a former Marine who had taken the security job for a quiet retirement. "So much for diplomatic relations," he muttered, then activated the colony-wide comm. "All civilians to shelters. All security personnel to defensive positions. This is an active invasion." The Valkyrie expected little resistance. Their commander, Vrock, had studied the colony layout and knew the humans had minimal defenses. "Take the command center first," he ordered his troops. "These soft ones will surrender quickly when they see our strength." But the Valkyrie didn't understand humans. When they breached the outer doors of the agricultural sector, they expected to find cowering scientists. Instead, farm workers attacked them with whatever tools they had. A botanist named Paul fought off a Valkyrie soldier with a shovel before security arrived with proper weapons. In the residential sector, Kate led 30 colonists through maintenance tunnels to escape approaching Valkyrie troops. "The main shelter will be their primary target," she whispered. "We'll use the backup shelter in mining sector 3. A small boy started to cry from fear. Kate knelt beside him. "It's going to be okay," she said softly. "Humans are stronger than they think. Help is coming." At the colony's edge, Chief Cruz organized the defense. He had only 12 trained security officers and 30 volunteers with basic weapons training. "We can't beat them head-on," he told his team. "So we fight smart. Use the environment. Make them come to us on our terms." The Valkyrie pushed into the colony, expecting to find easy targets. Instead, they found cleared rooms, barricaded passages, and humans who fought back with unexpected skill. Cruz's team set traps in the narrow corridors. They used the colony's air circulation system to flood sections with smoke, confusing the Valkyrie's heat-sensing vision. When the aliens adapted, the humans changed tactics again. In the command center, Steve managed to get a distress signal to Earth before the main communications array was destroyed. Then he joined the fight, helping to evacuate children to safer areas. 6 hours into the attack, Commander Vrock was furious. His forces had taken only half the colony and suffered unexpected losses. "They are not fighting like prey." He snarled at his officers. "Where is their surrender?" A Valkyrie scout returned from the residential sector, bleeding from a wound in his side. "They have no proper weapons," he reported, "but they fight with whatever they have. One human attacked me with a cooking tool." In the mining sector, Kate and her group heard the fighting getting closer. The little boy looked up at her with frightened eyes. "Are we going to die?" he asked. "No," Kate said firmly. "Humans don't give up that easily." By the 12th hour, the Valkyrie were growing tired. Their species evolved for quick, powerful attacks, not extended battles. The humans, however, kept fighting. Chief Cruz noticed the Valkyrie taking longer breaks between assaults. "They're slowing down," he told his team. "We're not. Press the advantage." As the colony's night cycle began, the Valkyrie were shocked to see the humans launch a counterattack. Cruz had gathered his remaining forces and pushed back against the invaders, reclaiming the command center. Commander Vrock could not understand what was happening. These humans should have surrendered hours ago. Instead, they fought harder the longer the battle went on. "Pull back to the ships," he finally ordered. "We need reinforcements." As the Valkyrie retreated, they looked back at the damaged but unconquered human colony with new eyes. These were not the easy prey they had expected. They were something else entirely. News of the attack on Proxima Centauri reached Earth within 3 days. The emergency signal contained video of the Valkyrie assault and the colony's desperate defense. Earth's response was swift and unified. Admiral Patricia Campbell stood before the United Earth Defense Council, her face grim as she reviewed the situation. "The Proxima colony is damaged but holding," she said. "Chief Kruz and his people fought off the initial attack, but the Valkyrie ships remain in orbit. They're likely waiting for reinforcements." General Roberts looked up from his tablet. "How soon can we deploy a response fleet?" "The 2nd and 4th battle groups can reach Proxima in 7 days at emergency speed," Admiral Campbell replied. "But we need a strategy. The Valkyrie ships outgun ours in direct combat." Dr. Alan Foster, the military's lead tactician, stepped forward. He was a quiet man with a brilliant mind for strategy. "The Valkyrie have shown us something important," he said. "They attack hard and fast, but they tire quickly. Their whole biology is built for ambush predation, not extended conflict." He pulled up data from the Proxima battle. "Notice how their attack intensity dropped after just 6 hours. Humans, on the other hand, get stronger under pressure. We adapt. We endure." Admiral Campbell nodded. "So we use that against them. What do you propose?" "Don't try to match their initial attack strength," Dr. Foster said. "Instead, focus on outlasting them. Draw them into extended engagements where our endurance gives us the advantage." On the other side of the galaxy, the Valkyrie High Command received Commander Vrock's report with disbelief. "One small colony fought off 3 warships." Supreme Commander Drazak hissed. "Impossible." The humans did not respond as expected. Vrock explained through the communication link. They should have surrendered when faced with superior force. Instead, they fought harder the longer the battle continued. Drazak dismissed these concerns. "Your failure is noted, Commander. The main invasion fleet will correct your mistakes. 20 warships are already en route to the human colony. We will crush them properly this time." Back on Earth, the defense fleet prepared for deployment. Crews worked around the clock to ready the ships. Among them was the ESS Dauntless, commanded by Captain Frank Harris. Frank walked through his ship, checking in with his crew. He stopped at the weapons station, where Lieutenant Ryan Baker was running diagnostics. "How are we looking, Lieutenant?" Frank asked. "Ready to show these lizards what humans can do, sir," Ryan replied with determination. In the strategy room of Earth Command, Dr. Foster worked with a team to finalize their battle plan. "The Valkyrie expect us to either surrender quickly or match their initial attack power," he explained. "We'll do neither. Instead, we'll engage in what I call persistent combat." He showed a simulation on the main screen. "We rotate our ships in and out of the battle zone, keeping fresh crews engaged while others rest. The Valkyrie can't match that rotation without retreating entirely." Admiral Campbell approved the strategy. "Make it happen, Doctor." 7 days later, the human fleet arrived at Proxima Centauri, just as a much larger Valkyrie fleet appeared. 20 Valkyrie warships against 12 human vessels. "They outnumber us nearly 2 to 1. Frank's second-in-command said as they watched the Valkyrie formation on the view screen. "Numbers don't win battles," Frank replied calmly. "Determination does, and humans have that in abundance." The Valkyrie launched their attack with overwhelming force, just as expected. Their ships moved in perfect attack formations, weapons blazing. The human fleet scattered, not retreating but breaking into smaller, more agile groups. "Begin Phase 1. Admiral Campbell ordered from her flagship. "Engage and evade. Make them work for every shot." The human ships darted between asteroids and used Proxima's radiation fields for cover. They struck quickly, then pulled back, forcing the Valkyrie to constantly adjust their formations. After 4 hours, the Valkyrie expected the humans to be wearing down. Instead, fresh human ships rotated to the front, while others pulled back to recharge shields and give crews short rest periods. What is this strategy? The Valkyrie fleet commander demanded as his ships failed to land decisive blows. They should be breaking formation by now. By the 10th hour, the Valkyrie ships showed signs of strain. Their attacks became less coordinated as crew fatigue set in. The humans pressed their advantage, pushing harder as the battle continued. "Now we show them what humans can really do," Admiral Campbell said. "All ships, execute Phase 3. Target their command vessels." The Valkyrie had never faced an enemy that grew stronger as a battle progressed. They had no defense against human persistence. The defeat at Ta City shocked the Valkyrie High Command. They had never lost a major battle in their modern history. Supreme Commander Drazek paced his chamber, his claws clicking against the metal floor. "Humans are not just prey with tools," he growled to his officers. "They are something different." "What are your orders, Supreme Commander?" asked Sub-Commander Vexus. Drazek stopped pacing. "If we cannot defeat them in open battle, we will hunt them as we hunted in ancient times. Send in the elite hunters. Target their leaders. Cut off the head, and the body will die." On Earth, the victory celebration was brief. Intelligence reports indicated the Valkyrie were changing tactics. Major Samantha Lewis stood before Admiral Campbell and the Defense Council. She was the leader of a special operations team trained for deep space missions. "The Valkyrie are sending hunter teams to target key military and political figures," Samantha explained. "They've abandoned large-scale attacks in favor of precision strikes." "How do you know this?" asked a council member. "We captured a Valkyrie scout ship 3 days ago," Samantha replied. "Their mission logs were clear. They're moving to assassination tactics." Admiral Campbell frowned. "So we go on the defensive?" "No," Samantha said firmly. "We take the fight to them. My team can infiltrate Valkyrie territory and disrupt their hunter program at its source." The mission was approved, and within days, Samantha's team of 8 operators boarded a stealth ship bound for Valkyrie space. They wore experimental suits designed to mask human heat signatures and scent. "Remember," Samantha told her team during the journey, "the Valkyrie are ambush predators. They strike hard and fast, but they don't expect a long chase. We'll use that against them." Their target was a moon base in the Valkyrie home system where the elite hunters trained. The plan was to sabotage their ships and communication systems, then escape before being detected. Meanwhile, on Earth and its colonies, the Valkyrie hunters had begun their work. They moved like shadows, striking at military bases and government buildings. But they found humans to be frustratingly difficult targets. A Valkyrie hunter named Skelk cornered a human officer in a colony outpost on Mars. The human, Colonel Pete Diaz, was unarmed and injured from the initial attack. Skelk expected quick surrender. "Your death will weaken your species' will to fight," Skelk hissed, approaching his prey. Colonel Diaz backed away, bleeding from a wound in his side. "You really don't understand humans at all, do you?" Instead of cowering, Diaz grabbed a metal pipe from the damaged wall and stood his ground. When Skelk attacked, Diaz fought back with surprising strength despite his injuries. The fight lasted 20 minutes, far longer than Skelk had ever fought a single opponent. When colony security finally arrived, they found the Valkyrie hunter unconscious and Diaz still standing, though barely. "How did you defeat an elite hunter?" a security officer asked in amazement. "I just had to last longer than he did," Diaz said before collapsing from his wounds. Similar stories emerged across human territories. The Valkyrie hunters were deadly in quick strikes, but struggled when humans refused to surrender and forced extended conflicts. Deep in Valkyrie space, Samantha's team reached the hunter base. They moved silently through its outer defenses, using patience and careful planning instead of brute force. "Place the charges at each ship dock," Samantha whispered to her team over the comm. "Set timers for 3 hours. We want to be far away when they blow. The infiltration was going perfectly until a young team member, Private Eric Clark, was spotted by a Valkyrie guard. Instead of retreating, Eric led the guard on a chase away from the others. "What is he doing?" whispered Sergeant Gary Lopes as they watched Eric disappear down a corridor with the guard in pursuit. "Protecting the mission," Samantha replied grimly. "We continue as planned." The team placed their explosives and headed for the extraction point. Hours passed with no sign of Eric. They couldn't wait any longer. "We have to go," Sergeant Lopes said reluctantly. Just as they prepared to leave, Eric appeared, breathing hard but alive. His uniform was torn and bloody. "How did you escape?" Samantha asked, checking his wounds. "I just kept running," Eric said with a weak smile. "These lizards can sprint, but they can't keep going." After an hour, he was so tired I could have walked away. The human team escaped just as their explosives detonated, destroying the hunter ships and communication array. The mission was a complete success. 6 months into the war with the Valkyrie, Earth scientists made a breakthrough. A Valkyrie scout ship had been captured intact, with 3 crew members taken alive. This gave humans their first chance to study living Valkyrie up close. Professor Henry Webb led the research team at the secure facility in Nevada. He had spent decades studying animal biology on Earth before turning his attention to alien life. "Fascinating," he said as he reviewed the medical scans. Their muscle structure explained so much about their combat patterns. His assistant, Dr. Laura Reed, looked up from her computer. "What do you see?" "The Valkyrie have incredibly powerful fast-twitch muscle fibers," Henry explained. "Much more developed than ours. That's why they're so quick and strong in short bursts." "But they lack slow-twitch endurance fibers?" Laura asked. Henry nodded. "Exactly. They evolved as ambush predators. Their bodies are designed for explosive power, not sustained effort." This discovery led to a complete reassessment of human military strategy. Admiral Campbell called an emergency meeting with her commanders and Professor Webb. "So you're saying we've been fighting them all wrong?" she asked after hearing Webb's findings. "Not wrong," Henry replied. "But we can be more efficient. The Valkyrie are built for short, intense conflicts. Every battle that extends beyond their biological comfort zone is one we're more likely to win." Across the table, General Rodriguez looked skeptical. "We already know they tire faster than us. How does this change our approach?" Henry pulled up comparison charts on the main screen. "It's not just about fatigue. Their entire biology is optimized differently. Their cardiovascular system can't sustain oxygen delivery during extended exertion. Their metabolism burns through energy reserves quickly with poor recovery. In simple terms," Laura added, "humans evolved as persistence hunters. We chased prey for hours or days until it collapsed from exhaustion. The Valkyrie evolved to hide and ambush, kill quickly, then rest. These are fundamentally different hunting strategies." Admiral Campbell leaned forward. "And this is why we've been winning the longer battles." "Precisely," Henry said. "Now imagine if we designed our tactics specifically to exploit this difference." Within weeks, new battle plans were distributed throughout the human fleet. Ships were retrofitted with endurance-focused systems. Training protocols shifted to emphasize sustained operations. Meanwhile, the Valkyrie were conducting their own studies. The scientist Krytax, who had visited Earth during the cultural exchange, now led a research team analyzing human biology. "Their endurance is not just behavioral," he reported to the High Command. "It is built into their physiology. Their muscles store energy differently. Their cooling system, this sweeting, allows them to regulate temperature during extended exertion." Supreme Commander Drazak looked troubled. "Can we adapt our tactics to counter this advantage?" "We can try," Krytax said carefully. "But we would be fighting against our own biology. The humans have evolved specifically to outlast their prey. And now, they see us as prey." This comment caused angry hisses from the other commanders, but Drazek silenced them with a gesture. "Continue your research," he ordered Kratax. "Find weaknesses we can exploit." The next major battle occurred in the Alpha Centauri system, where Valkyrie forces attempted to set up a forward base. Human ships arrived and began what they now called persistence warfare. The human fleet maintained continuous pressure, rotating ships to keep fresh crews in the fight while others rested. They never allowed the Valkyrie a chance to recover between engagements. Captain Will Morris commanded the ESS Relentless during this battle. His ship had been fighting for 20 hours straight, with crew working in shifts to maintain peak performance. Status report. Will called to his bridge crew. Valkyrie ships showing significantly decreased maneuverability. His tactical officer reported. Their firing patterns are becoming erratic. "I think they're exhausted, sir." Will nodded. "Maintain pressure. Don't let them disengage." When the battle ended after 36 hours, the Valkyrie fleet had been completely defeated, not through overwhelming firepower, but through the simple human ability to keep going when others would stop. In his quarters after the victory, Will recorded a message for the military academy back on Earth. "The Valkyrie aren't weak," he said into the camera. "They're incredibly strong and dangerous. But they don't understand what humans are. We evolved to chase down animals that were faster than us, by simply not stopping. Now we're doing the same thing in space, hunting the hunters who thought they were at the top of the food chain." 1 year after the first Valkyrie attack on Proxima Centauri, the war reached a turning point. After a series of defeats, the Valkyrie High Command called for an emergency session. Supreme Commander Drazek faced his fellow leaders in the Great Chamber on their homeworld. The mood was tense as defeat was not something the Valkyrie had ever needed to discuss before. "The humans continue to advance," Drazek said. "Our losses mount with each engagement. Our traditional tactics fail against their persistence." The war minister hissed in anger. "Then we must increase our forces, overwhelm them with numbers." "That strategy has failed 3 times already," Kratax said. The scientist had been promoted to senior advisor after his warnings about humans proved correct. "Humans adapt too quickly. Each time we change our approach, they learn and counter it faster than we can respond." Silence fell over the chamber as the leaders considered their options. "Perhaps," Kratax continued carefully, "it is time to consider a different path. Not surrender, but negotiation." The suggestion would have been unthinkable a year earlier. The Valkyrie had never negotiated with prey species, but now they faced an enemy unlike any they had encountered in their 1,000-year expansion. After 3 days of debate, the Valkyrie sent their first peace message to Earth. Ambassador Grace Sullivan led the human delegation to the neutral meeting ground, a space station in unclaimed territory between Earth and Valkyrie space. She had spent months studying everything known about Valkyrie culture to prepare for this moment. When the Valkyrie delegation arrived, led by High Commander Drazek himself, Grace stood tall despite feeling dwarfed by the reptilian aliens. "We welcome the opportunity for peace," she said formally. Drazek studied her with yellow eyes. "Your species has proven unexpected. We wish to end this costly conflict." The negotiations lasted 2 weeks. Both sides were cautious, reviewing each term carefully. The humans insisted on recognition as equals, not subjects. The Valkyrie demanded assurances that human expansion would not threaten their existing territories. During a break in the talks, Grace found Kratax observing earth plants in the station's small garden. "Your species created this garden even on a temporary space station," Kratax noted. "You bring life with you wherever you go." Grace nodded. "It helps us remember home. Humans need connection to living things. Yet you fight with such determination," Kratax said. "This seeming contradiction fascinates me." "Humans protect what we love," Grace explained. "We can be both nurturers and defenders. Perhaps that's what makes us dangerous. We have something worth fighting for." On the final day of negotiations, Drazek made an unexpected request. "Before we sign this treaty, I wish to understand something," he said to Grace. Your people could have pushed their advantage after the Battle of Alpha Centauri. You could have struck at our homeworld. Why didn't you? Grace considered her answer carefully. Humans have a long history of war among ourselves. We've learned that victory without peace is meaningless. We don't want to destroy the Valkyrie. We want to coexist with you. Drazik seemed surprised by this answer. In our history, predators compete for territory and resources. The strong dominate the weak. It is the natural order. Perhaps there's a different order worth trying, Grace suggested. One where different strengths complement each other instead of competing. The peace treaty was signed that day. The Valkyrie recognized humans as equals and abandoned their conquest philosophy. Humans agreed to respect Valkyrie territory and share certain technologies. 5 years later, a new threat emerged from the galactic core. A hive species that operated with a single mind began consuming worlds on the edge of known space. When they reached a small Valkyrie colony, they found it defended not only by Valkyrie ships, but by human vessels as well. The former enemies now fought side by side. Captain Nora Wright, who had first met the Valkyrie years earlier, now commanded a joint human-Valkyrie defense force. Her first officer was a Valkyrie named Thraz, the son of the ambassador she had once faced across a negotiating table. They're attacking in waves, Thraz reported as the alien ships approached. Classic overwhelming force tactics. Nora smiled. Then we do what humans and Valkyrie do best. You hit them hard at the start, we wear them down over time. The battle that followed became legendary. The Valkyrie ships struck first with overwhelming power, breaking the initial wave of invaders. When the Valkyrie ships pulled back to recover, human vessels moved forward, maintaining constant pressure on the enemy. The hive mind had never encountered this combination of tactics before and couldn't adapt quickly enough to counter it.